grandparents were Russian immigrants. My father's father I never met. He died well before my mother ever met my father. But my Orthodox Jewish grandmother, she instilled the love of the religion and tzedakah. That was her life. My mother's parents were farmers. I spent every summer until well into my teenage years with them, and they were Zionists. So the love of Israel was instilled in me all the time I spent with them. In my own home, this was all blended into the love of tradition, Israel, and giving tzedakah. I was attending meetings, the regular women's division, for a number of years, and then I went back to teaching, so I no longer could attend the morning meetings. And I was told that there was a group called B&P, which is Business and Professional Women, who met in the evening. And most of these women wanted to do something, but couldn't do anything during the day. And I found this was a very good fit for me. And I feel that I am here representing all these women. About 9 years ago, my husband and I traveled to Russia. While we were in St. Petersburg, a representative of JDC, which is the UJA partner, took us to a community center. They took us into a room of senior citizens. Well-dressed, seemed very happy, and there was a woman at the piano playing Chopin's Polonaise. Well, I became very emotional. All of these people got up, they ran over to me, they were hugging me, and in Russian, which I didn't understand, but in Yiddish, which I did, they're telling me that they're fine, all their needs are being met, they're happy, and I shouldn't, be upset about them. What they didn't understand was that this woman playing the piano reminded me of my mother, who had passed away a year before. She was a professional pianist. That was her favorite song and would play it constantly. I just want to say that there and then I realized that's where our money is making a difference. A second incident happened outside of Moscow. Again, the JDC representative took us to a log cabin synagogue, deep into the woods. This survived not only World War II, but also Stalin. We got there on a Saturday afternoon, and we walked in, and there was one gentleman left. He was telling us how there are very few Jews left in this town, which was originally filled with artists, mainly Jews, of which Chagall was one of the residents. And he said that this one meal a week that JDC provides is practically the only good meal they get. And on the tables were boxes marked with JDC. And again, I saw where our money is going. My family is very supportive in everything that I do, but more important is the fact that I believe that you lead by example. And it's what you do, it's not what you tell them to do. And I am very pleased that my family is able to share this honor with me. It's very important.
As a mom, I think it's more important now than ever that I'm part of the Jewish community because I want my children to always remember that they are Jewish. Obviously, I have many years to think about it, but they have to marry Jewish, and that's important to me. And so I want them to be from a young age to grow up knowing they're Jewish, knowing they're part of the Jewish community, knowing that I volunteer for UJA and knowing how important that is to me, and knowing the impact that it has on them, on our family, on our community, and the world at large. Through UJA, I volunteer for Bergen Reads, which is a program where volunteers once a week will work with 2 children, 30 minutes each, in reading. These kids are behind in reading, and I'm so lucky because as an ex-school teacher, it's just right up my alley. I love doing it. How could you say anyone cannot give up 1 hour a week to volunteer with kids who really need the extra help? So for me, I get more out of it than I think the kids do. I volunteer for Cafe Europa, and Cafe Europa is where the Holocaust survivors meet. We talk, they have a presentation, we do lunch. And so lucky because I drive my friend Marta, who's a Holocaust survivor, once a month there. And I'm a history buff, so for me to be in the presence of Jewish people who have survived the Holocaust and they share their stories with me it's priceless. I met a man who survived, who he was on Schindler's List. I saw the movie. How many of us can say we were able to talk to someone who was on Schindler's List and who knew and who lived through it? And the Holocaust survivors have actually, although they say that I brighten their day and they're so nice, they've actually made me realize how fortunate I am that I'm able to raise my children, that we are not living through that time, and that we should really appreciate the smaller things in life and not be so concerned about everything else. You know, I try to remember every day, but on that day, I do pull my kids closer and I'm probably a little nicer to them. When I walk into a Women's Philanthropy Board meeting, it is very exciting because you have women from all different parts of our community and different ages, and we've all come together with this strong desire to do something. I don't think people are aware of what women can do when we get together and we share a plan and we implement it. We recently changed our name to Women's Philanthropy, and that's what we are. I mean, philanthropy means giving of ourselves, and that's what we do. We're actually getting our hands dirty, and that's what the women that are part of this board do. We actually go out and we paint houses and we drive people and we deliver meals and we tutor children, and we're not just saying, here, let me write a check, but I want to do something.
Receiving the Lifetime Achievement Award is a reflection of all the efforts, of all the meetings, of all of the coffee. But really of everything that I've done. It's very, very special. I worked hard and I enjoyed it, because if you don't enjoy it, you wouldn't do it. I told Lou we had a blue car and I wanted a picture of the car, and he said to me, who takes a picture of a car? And that year that I was president of Women's Division, vice president of the region of Hadassah, and vice president of the home, I said, only that car knows where I went and what I did. But it was good. I made a lot of very good friends, and it was worthwhile. I was doing something. I was brought up in a home where my father went to sleep reading the History of the Jews by Gretz every night. In 1933, he and my brother visited Palestine, and in 1935, they went to Basel, Switzerland, to the World Zionist Congress, and again to Palestine. When he came home, he said to my mother, Esther, there's no Zionist organization. It was Spring Valley, New York we lived in, and you'll have to start a Hadassah, which she did. Today we have a Jewish family service. In those days, there was no such thing. But I was bedridden for almost 4 years, and I can remember my mother taking me in the car, and twice a year before Rosh Hashanah and before Passover, she always had to deliver what she called an order. It was chicken and fish and vegetables and wine and challah and fruit. And she used to go to families that she knew needed a help. And that's what you did. The year that I was president of Women's Division, it was a wonderful year. When I became president, I said, I really have to see all the workings of Women's Division, of what Federation does. So one day we went to Jersey City, where the old age home was then, visited there, and we had lunch in Teaneck at the Teaneck Jewish Center. And there were hundreds of elderly people having lunch, having companionship, and I had not seen that before. And it was a wonderful, wonderful experience. I loved that. When I moved to Maywood, I joined the Hackensack Hadassah, and that was very nice. And then when I moved to Walworth, we had an anti-Zionist rabbi in the community. And 3 of us got crazy from this. And then we said, we're going to start a Hadassah. And I started 55 years ago in my living room. I started the Northern Valley chapter of Hadassah. The first year that I was the president of the chapter, we had our regional donors at the Waldorf Astoria, and Eleanor Roosevelt was our speaker. And all the presidents were in a little anteroom, and she came in, and I will never forget what she said to us. She said, I know that you ladies are active in your synagogue. I know that you're brownie leaders. I know that you're class mothers. But you do this too, and that's what makes you different. I think it's very, very important to volunteer. I didn't have the physical capacity to play tennis and do these other things, but I'm so glad that God gave me this, and I saw that how wonderful this was, because women are the people who remain with the finances, and women have to know that it's their responsibility. This is much more than a club. It's a responsibility.